Hi, everybody. Hello. This is our first live YouTube event, and I'm very happy about this. It's new. It's new to us, though new to me, definitely new to me, new to us as a group. So, hello, I see some people. I'm curious who is here. So it's an experiment. Yes, hello, somebody from Bay Area. I'm glad you are here. Let's give it a moment. Let's just give it a moment. Hello, somebody watching my videos. Thank you. I'm glad you are here. Hello, Nishkala. Long time no see. How are you? I'm so glad you are here. Yes. We're just going to wait another couple of minutes. Somebody joined Manish from California. Yes, Manish. I'm glad you are here. Hello, somebody new from England. Hello. Hi, Timothy. Somebody from Minnesota, welcome. Yes, Carol. Exciting, I hear you, yes. New, very exciting. Yeah, I'm used to more interaction, so this is going to be interesting. So I actually want to say a few things to start with. Hopefully you guys will have some questions for me, but just a few things, which are, if you have been watching my videos or if you know me from the time that I used to travel and do public events, I always speak about the same thing, which is presence, our true nature. And we might have different names for it. We might say consciousness. We might say spaciousness or bliss. I tend to call it presence, or I tend to call it our true nature. And the message that I'm sharing, that I have been sharing, it turns out almost 30 years now, hi Steve, hello, hello presence. I was thinking for a moment about this before this live, reflecting that it's almost 30 years that I'm sitting for satsang with you, with many of you. And presence, our true nature, the good news about it is that it is always here. That it's already here. That it's not something that we are going to discover at some point, or get at some point, or acquire at some point. And that at every moment, even right now, as we are sitting here, we can give it our attention. So you can take a moment right now, wherever you are sitting, just give your attention inwardly to that which is already here. You know, yes, hello from Tokyo, Japan. Hello. You know, the other good thing about this is that it does not ever change. It does not go anywhere. It does not need anything special. You don't have to become anything. You don't have to do anything, you know, you don't have to change your appearance or your clothes or your food, or, you know, you don't have to do anything other, or you don't have to change your life, what you are doing, other than just learn to give it attention. Inwardly right now, we can keep testing this. We can keep actually noticing this. So, which is really, really very beautiful and very, very simple. You know, I also speak a lot about awakening. What is awakening? For this realization, for this recognition of our true nature to become permanent. So I speak a lot about awakening. What is awakening, and how, you know, what are the elements necessary for awakening? And one of the themes that was getting a lot of attention, I saw at some point online or on YouTube or in some of our posts, was really what prevents us from awakening. You know, there's a lot that could be said about that, right? But maybe before we still maybe get into some questions, I will say, you know, what prevents us from awakening? You know, the bottom line, what prevents us, the number one that always comes up for me when I speak about it is trust. It's a big word for some people, you know, for some people, for some of us. If you have had a history of challenges in your life, if you have had different experiences that really challenged your ability to trust. You know, when I say this word trust, that in itself can be challenging. But that is really one of the key prerequisites to awakening, to trust in what you know is true. To trust in the teaching, to trust in the words of the teacher. And ultimately, because the teacher appears externally at first, and then we recognize that the teacher is really within, right? It's within. So ultimately, trusting what you know within, trusting what you know within, trusting our true nature as it arises within, as it arises within. You know, I find that was my experience, and I know many other people's experience also, that a moment of complete trust is followed by awakening. You know, of course, there are many or some other elements that I speak about necessary for awakening, but before we go there, I really want to see if you guys might have some questions for me, or if you want to just say hello again, or hi, or would you like me to talk about anything before I go any farther? Yes, hello from Santa Fe. Yes, I'm glad you are here. Hi. Hi. if you have questions, if you want me to speak about anything. Hello, Neelam. Hello, hello. Rafi, yes, hello. So a couple more things about, the elements necessary for awakening, which are, or maybe actually more about what prevents us from awakening. Because we can say what prevents us from awakening is tendencies of the past. It's a good question. How do I calm my nervous system when triggered? I will say it in a moment. How to awaken, yes. How do I calm my nervous system, when triggered, when past is present? We have to recognize that when past arises, it affects our experience. And that means our physiology is affected. It's affected by thought, it's affected by feeling, sensation, emotion. And so when past arises, it really affects our physiology. And because it affects our physiology, it looks very, very real to us. It's very real. And so when past is present, when we get triggered and, thought, feeling, sensation, emotion is present, we have to understand a little better how does the nervous system and brain really work. What works about it, what doesn't. And one of the things that I always say to everybody is, you might have a habit of sitting with your eyes closed. Hello, more people coming. I'm glad you are here. You might have a habit of sitting with your eyes closed. I would say the first is to open your eyes. There is a nerve that goes from your eyes into the back of your head, into the brain stem, into the brain. And it really gives your brain a lot of information about what's happening right now. See, when past arises, it takes over. So whatever is happening right now is not so noticeable. What arises within, sensation, fear, emotion, thoughts, is more visible. When you open your eyes, you give your brain more information about where you are actually sitting right now. The same with noticing sensations in your body. It sounds very simple, but it's not always easy just to take a moment and notice sensations in your body. We could do it right now. We could take a moment right now to notice. Beautiful, beautiful. Because the moment you notice sensation, you are out of thinking, you are out of whatever you perceive, you are immediately connecting with your nervous system and brain. And so by noticing, keeping your eyes open, noticing sensation, you are stepping into the present moment. Just do it right now. Open your eyes, notice sensation. Sensation can be anything. The weight of your body where you are sitting. Your feet on the ground. Maybe your back is leaning against something. Or maybe something is noticeable in your body. You can notice that. Beautiful, beautiful. And notice that the moment you notice sensation, you're out of thought, you're out of past, you're out of future, you're out of thinking about everything. You're just here in this moment, right? And of course, this is easier right now because we are sitting together, we are doing this together. We have a shared intention, but it may be a little more challenging when you are sitting on your own at first. And it might also take some time. It might actually take some time. Don't give up, don't get discouraged. Just keep at this with this simplicity, open eyes, look around, notice sensation. And that gives the information to your nervous system to begin to relax, to step into the present moment, to begin to relax, to begin to regulate, to come out of the past. So I think there were some questions about awakening and how to awaken. It's a good question, how to awaken. I wish we could have an interaction, you know, like a conversation together, but it's always the same, you know, bring your attention inward. That's the beginning, right? Our attention tends to move with what arises. Thought, feeling, sensation, emotion, past, future, you know, attention moves with that. So mind arises and attention moves with that. We follow that, right? What would happen if we didn't follow it, right? What would happen if you would just give your attention inward, keep your attention away from what arises, beautiful, and direct it inwardly? Because when you go inward, the more you go inward, the more you are going to be discovering, uncovering your very own true nature, right? Your very own true nature. You know, and eventually the more you go inward, the more you, yes, it makes sense, thank you. Yes, the more you go inward, the more you begin to trust. You trust what you know internally rather than trusting the mind, right? You know, most of us need a teacher. You know, some of us, like Ramana Maharishi, I don't know if you heard of Ramana Maharishi, the great Indian saint, 19th century. He didn't need a teacher. But most of us do. So that's where we also grow in trust internally, grow in trust because somebody is helping us to look within, right? A moment of full trust is followed by awakening, a moment of full trust. So it begins inward, go inward, go inward, go inward, trust, learn to trust, learn to trust. There's more things we could say about this, but eventually the more you trust, the more you come to a full trust, and a moment of full trust is followed by awakening. I wonder if you can guys repeat some of those questions that were there. There was something about presence, something about okay, more about trust. Hold on, repeat one more time. There is a longer question about baby. If I can see this, about having a baby, somebody's... Oh, there was also another question about how does awakening help in everyday life? I don't know if we can make an equation like that, you know, straightforwardly. But of course, it changes your life. It absolutely changes your life. It changes your life in a way that where our attention used to be on what arises. And also, frankly, most of us, if we realize it or not, we are suffering, right? You might be realizing already that you are suffering. You might still be just living and suffering, and you are kind of aware that you are suffering, but you are not realizing yet fully, like, oh my God, I'm suffering. Is there something I could do about this, right? But if you are, then that's where awakening really helps with that, right? Because it changes our life, it changes your life completely. It's like instead of focusing on what arises, the focus really is on our true nature, right? And so, for better or worse, because it means, on the one hand, we are more committed and focused on peace, on presence, on being here. But also we see things very, very directly, much more directly than when we were unaware, right? We see suffering much more directly. We see reality of what is happening in the world much more directly. We see, you know, the human condition, that what people are going through, we see that much more directly. So it's, you know, on the one hand, it's very liberating. On the other hand, it's also very, you know, direct in how we then perceive the world, right? You know, the interesting thing is, once you know, you don't want to not know anymore, you know? Once you know, you gravitate towards knowing. You want to know more. You want to know it. So, can we post some more questions? I keep losing the visual for this. If you guys can repost some questions. There was something else about awakening, something else. About trust, Russ. Is trust in yourself also important for freedom and awakening, or just plain trust, or trust in the guru? You know, there's a combination of things, right? Because when you say trust in yourself, we can come from a more psychological perspective and to say, well, you have to trust yourself. But it's not exactly that. It's really trusting more what naturally arises within, the innocence of what arises. Trusting yourself is, because in the beginning it might sound like no matter what arises, we have to trust it. There is a lot more discrimination to that, right? But when you know something internally, you see, this is what challenges in the past have taken away from us, like trauma or other events that happened in the past. It have taken away our ability to trust what we know within. You know, how often something arises and you know something, you know, like, this is the way I need to go, or this is what I need to say, or this is where I need to, and then the mind comes in and says, no, you can't do that, that's silly, that's not okay, nobody would like that. So there is an element of trust in what arises. You know, as a matter of fact, that was the element that was missing for me. When I went to see with Papaji, with my teacher, H.W. Poonja in India, what was missing was that human element of trust, in which I would trust completely what was arising within. And once I realized that, once I was able to follow that, once I was able to give myself to that, in addition to trusting in the teacher, trusting in the words of the teacher, in addition to that, I was able to move from that place of like, wow, even the silliest thing that says, you know, you want to do this, or you want to write a song, or you want to sing for Papaji, or you want to do this, or, you know, even the littlest thing, to trust, to learn. And that way I was able to come to a moment of full trust. I was able to come to see that I fully trust what he's saying. You know, that moment of trust was followed by awakening. Good, good. Was there any other? There was another question. I missed that longer question about a child. Somebody was talking about a baby. It was a longer question. I didn't really read it, the whole thing. Listening, I feel happy, trust, baby trust, really. Yes, 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 beautiful, beautiful, yes, the baby. Yes, the baby knows. I mean, everybody knows, you know, everybody knows. If you don't feel the trust from parents, rely on parents completely, is this from the perspective of the baby, or is this perspective of the mother? Mother trusting her parents, or baby trusting the parent? I'm not quite sure about this question, not quite sure. what is the context of it. You know, baby is just completely dependent, right? Mother trusting parents. You didn't feel the trust from parents. How to regain trust? You know, trust, for now, it's not about trust something or somebody. First, it's about trust. First is internally. And that's where you have to start. Because it's not just trust, there is also discrimination, right? You know, how can you trust somebody who is not trustworthy? That will be an interesting question, right? I don't know your situation in detail. Again, it would be great if we could talk sometime, you know, like in a program where, or in a setting where there is an exchange. But, you know, if somebody is not trustworthy, how do you trust that? Trust is within. So within, you know, what, you know, or you are learning to know, or you can learn to know what to trust, right? You can become more clear internally what to trust. How to regain trust? First, by regaining trust within, you know, because trust, like even right now, you know, you are sitting here with your baby in your arms. Notice, bring your attention inward. Beautiful, because when you bring your attention inward, you know, that is a moment of trust, right? From there, look from there, not from the mind, because the mind is going to say, well, I can trust, I cannot trust this or that. Look from there. If there is a movement to connect with your parents, go right ahead. You know, if there isn't a movement from there, I would say just stay here, you know, that's all, yes. What do you mean by awakening? What do I mean by awakening? It's a good question. When I say awakening, because when we are on a spiritual path, we can have a lot of experiences that, you know, we can call awakenings, right? Realizations. We suddenly realize, oh, things are not the way we thought they were. We learn different things, you know, and we can call these different experiences awakenings. But when I say awakening, I mean a permanent shift from knowing yourself as this body-mind to knowing yourself as presence. I would say this again. A permanent shift, and I say permanent because on the spiritual path, there will be times that we know presence, and then times where it appears we don't know it, and then times when we know and times when it appears we don't. So permanent, meaning no more question, no more search, no more looking. It's over. Permanent. Permanent shift from identifying yourself as the body-mind, you know, where we identify ourselves with it. We think, that's it, that's me, that's who I am, that's it. And the shift, what is here is really not anything, any person, any object. It's just the spaciousness of our true nature. That's what I call awakening, right? Our perception, our inner, you know, reliance has changed. We are relying now on something else. And with it, the whole life changes eventually, right? In the beginning, it's just, wow, you know, mind-blowing, just change. But then the whole life changes, right? Is awakening, the question continues, is awakening just for chosen few, or is it for everybody? I would say ultimately it's for anybody. Ultimately, anybody can awaken. Anybody. When and how is, you know, predestined in our destiny, right? However, if you begin right now, if your attention, there's a reason why we are sitting here together. It might seem kind of inconspicuous, it might seem kind of, lighthearted and easy, but there is a reason why we are sitting together, right? And maybe the reason is for you to begin to realize that it's a possibility for you to begin to give your attention towards your true nature, inwardly towards your true nature, right? That there is something else, that there's something other than what we perceive and experience. And that ultimately, as you can in this moment, because I know that every time you move your attention, yes, I see the questions. Every time you bring your attention here, you know it. I'm not just saying it, you know it experientially, right? You can know that permanently. You can. It's possible, That really is the message of this lineage. Ramana Maharishi, Papaji, H.W.L. Poonja, Neelam, to you, continuation of this lineage. The message is anybody can know this. Anybody can experience this. There is another question, but maybe we slow down for a moment, I just want to acknowledge this moment of, anybody can. At this very moment, when you give your attention inward, whatever you are knowing in this moment, you see, it's so powerful, right? That we can be here together, we can share this, and we can know this together. I love that. One more question. What is the difference between presence and awakening? Presence is our true nature. It's already here, always here. Never changes, never goes anywhere, never disappears. It's the friend you always wanted. You always wanted that friend that is always here, right? So here it is, presence, our true nature. Right? Presence itself is already awake. Presence is awake already, right? But in the body-mind, we experience ourselves as a separate object. We think, I am this body, I am this mind, this is who I am. And then there is this presence out there, right? So in the body-mind, we think ourselves to be separate, right? Presence is already awake, but in the body-mind, we don't know that. In the body-mind, we still think, even when you experience presence, even when you know presence, you still come back. You experience presence for a moment or longer or even longer, and then you come back and you still believe yourself to be a separate object. Separate object, right? And that's what awakening obliterates. You see, awakening obliterates that misunderstanding. You know for sure, experientially, naturally, that you are not a separate object. Yeah, you appear like a separate object. Yes, body, mind, yes, thoughts, yes, I, yes, appearance, yes. But you know internally different, you see. It's an amazing blessing, I mean, just to know presence, just for us to sit together, just for us to have the moment of presence, have the moment together and be here, that's grace already, amazing grace, right? And then awakening is, of course, an incredible grace, right? Anybody can experience that. If you repost the question, who is posting, because I haven't been reading the last ones. If you tell me the last ones again. Speak to the difference between self-awareness and as a tool to calm an overactive nervous system. And then there was one more that I didn't read. Can you repost it again? The same ones, can you repost it again? Self-awareness as a tool to calm your nervous system. Yes, there's somebody that I met many years ago. Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. Yes, I'm glad you are here. Awareness is very powerful. You know, awareness is very, very powerful. Our true nature, we could call it awareness, right? That there's a difference between awareness, just awareness, you know, and then there's an awareness of something, right? That's very powerful too. Because we can be either in the midst of suffering, we can either be suffering completely taken over by it, right? Or we can be aware that suffering is present, right? You know, Papaji, my teacher, used to say, whatever you can see is not who you are. So awareness of objects is not the same as this boundless, limitless, objectless awareness, but it's an awareness of something, right? How to use awareness to calm your nervous system, aware of your experience, aware. You know, as I was saying in the beginning, open your eyes, notice the sensations in your body, look around, understand how the brain and nervous system works. You know, I speak a lot in my programs about this. If you want to join sometime, I speak in detail about the brain, the nervous system, how it works. So that we can, once you understand how it works, then you can do it. Then you can help it. Keep your eyes open, look around, notice sensation. That's awareness, awareness of, like, what is going on in your body right now, awareness, right? Instead of giving your attention to what arises, right? So, beautiful, beautiful. You know, we will be finishing in a little bit. I still might have a little time for a question or two, but I wanted to just tell you we are having ongoing online programs these days with video already. What is it like to be your student and work with you? I would tell you. Actually, it will be better answered for by somebody else, but I will tell you in a moment. But we do have ongoing programs. We have a program coming up in December. If you are a new student, you can come for free to the first call of our program just to see how it works for you, if it works for you. All that information is on our website. You know, I also meet with people privately in private sessions. These days we are experimenting, like this is an experiment. I hope we'll be able to do more. And you know, also with other offerings, let's see what we'll be able to do. But these days we also have video in our programs. We used to have only audio. So what is it like to be my student? That really would be better answered by a student, but you know, it's a matter of your heart. It's a matter of what calls you, you know, what resonates with you. And if what I'm saying, if the way I'm showing up, if the way I'm presenting it, if the way this comes out here really calls your attention, you know, that's how you become a student, right? And it's a voluntary thing, you know. It's something that happens because there is a movement within to do that. And once that happens, dependent on what people are really looking for, because believe it or not, many of us, we sometimes say we are looking for awakening, you know, but we are not. We are looking sometimes to just maybe feel better or resolve some emotional issues, and that's not a bad starting point. You know, if that's what some people are looking for, they might need that to start with, right? But eventually, you know, there's that deeper call to presence. And so, you know, what happens with my students, they just keep coming and we just keep meeting and we just keep interacting and addressing things and answering questions, or just enjoying being together in presence, you know. So I know, again, it would be great if some students would answer that, what is it like? But it's a voluntarily thing. It's really by, by your inner commitment, by your inner movement, right? If you have the interest, if that really lights you up, if that really gives you what you need, then you are, my student then, yes? Is meditation the best way to feel the presence of our true nature? It depends what you mean by meditation, If you really want to take some quiet time daily, often, I recommend, very much so, time to go inward. Our lives tend to be very busy. It's great to have time to go inward. But sometimes when we say meditation, we have a specific idea. We have an agenda, we have a goal, we have a time, we have a focus, we have a tension, inner tension. I'm going to meditate now, I'm going to do this, this is what I'm going to achieve. I don't recommend that, right? There was this very simple instruction of my teacher, Papaji, H.W. Poonja. And the simple instruction is, keep quiet, don't make any effort. And it sounds simple, not always easy, but it means give your attention inward. And when you begin to see that you're efforting, I have to do something, move away from that. Between those two things, give your attention inward and don't make an effort. When you notice an effort, move away from that. That is a very simple guideline to meditation, to really being here, to really knowing your true nature. We are going to finish here in a moment. Somebody is posting about their experience of working with me. I also want to encourage you to like and subscribe and visit our social media, and mostly subscribe to our YouTube. That would really make a big difference for us right now. If you would, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. There was another question: can you balance worldly and internal pursuit of awakening and worldly? I don't know how that works in a moment. If it really depends. It's a very general question, I would like to specifically address you, because if you are looking for balance, then already maybe you are not looking deeply enough at what is really actually moving internally for you, because the way I experienced it is it took all my attention at that time. It doesn't mean forever, right? But if you are looking to balance, so I'm already feeling like there's some, there's some limit on your pursuit. And I would say, if there is a limit, if you have concern, I would say don't. You really need to focus on that. You really need to focus on your true nature. If that takes you to working 24 hours a day, well, then that's fine. But first things first focus on your true nature. First focus on your, can you repost this again, what you just posted? Repost, please. There was something you posted. So again, the person that posted that question about balance, look within. Look within, don't listen to your, if you're looking for balance, you're already looking for something outside of yourself. So, good. I'm glad you are here, and I hope we will be able to, at some point, continue this. I do want to say, though, I love sharing the videos with you. If you are watching my videos, I love doing this, and I really want to invite you to programs. I love sitting in programs, and that's a lot of the time where the work really happens. Once we have that time together to connect and and commit to presence together. So well, when you say, you know, looking within requires effort or intention, you know, in the beginning it might feel like an effort. In the beginning it might feel like an effort because we are not used to it. We are used to following the mind. But really, honestly, when you look at it, like right now, the person that asked that question, the person that asked, like, does it require effort? Let's right now sit together for a moment, everybody, because we're going to finish here. But let's take a moment, this person that asked that question. Just look, just right now, take a moment, you know. Does it really take any effort right now to sit here? No effort, right? And again, when you are sitting on your own, it might feel like an effort at first, just because we are giving so much attention to the mind. But this is really just for a moment, it will feel like that. Eventually you will see, like what we experience right now. No effort. Yes, beautiful. No effort, sweetheart. No effort. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Yes. Good, good. Jennifer, what do you... Are we close to done, you think? Do you guys have anything more that we need to post or say? Whoever is monitoring this with me today. Jennifer, Ian. Anyhow, I love sitting with you guys. Let's take a moment of silence together, just a little moment. Come and visit us again. Thank you for being here. I'm going to mute and exit for now. Love you guys. December 7th, yes, new program starts December 7th. Thank you again. Take care. Much love to everybody. Bye. Bye-bye. Much love.